Hey, everybody, this is TJR. And no, I have not cut my hair. It's just tied back right now. I know that in one of my previous videos, I said I haven't had a haircut since lockdown, and that's true. It's been about a year now, but I will be getting to a hairstylist soon and getting my hair cut. Um, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. I wanted to do a quick follow up to my video from just a few days ago, a video entitled My Conflict with McCartney 3 Imagined, which is the new project that Paul McCartney just announced will be coming out very shortly, wherein a collection of younger artists will be reinterpreting the songs from his latest album, McCartney 3. I'm sure you've already seen that video or you wouldn't be here. But if you haven't seen it yet, go watch that first. Anyways, that video spawned a lot of comments. Thank you, everybody who commented. And in particular, some really thoughtful comments that disagreed with my thoughts on it. And I wanted to talk about those comments and address some of them. I really appreciated these comments. And I want to stress here, it's okay, to disagree about music. And that's a topic that I think I need to cover a bit deeper. Some people just don't know how to deal with disagreements on music, and I'm not sure why. But it's okay to disagree on this channel. In fact, I think it's a very healthy thing to do. And I think it can all help expand our own perspectives on how we think about these things. So I'm going to, start with some comments here that were posted here that I've saved, and I want to share them with you. And just give me one sec here. The first comment here is not so much about my thoughts on McCartney 3 Imagined. It's about Paul McCartney's voice. But I really like this comment, and I want to share it because I agree with what's being said here. This is from JM. And he writes, I listened to the McCartney 3 album, and on balance, I like it. I would give it 3 stars out of 4. It's much better than Egypt Station. I disagree with you on that. I like Egypt Station better. But hey, as far as Paul's vocals go, I couldn't care less. Tom Waits sounds like he's been defecating for years, and nobody criticizes him. Now, I'm not going to comment on Tom Waits' voice, but I understand what you're saying. And I agree. I think that, first of all, it's more about how you sing, the emotion you put into your voice at times versus the actual quality of your voice up to a certain point. Of course, McCartney, he's always had just one of the sweetest voices in rock. And he could sing sweet love ballads, but he could just really just belt like nobody's business on a song like Sgt. Pepper, probably one of the strongest vocals I've ever heard from him. But he could also just really just scream it out on something like Helter Skelter. And I understand he doesn't have the voice he once had. And I think it's unfair to expect him to. I think it's unfair to expect artists like, say, Elton John or Paul McCartney or even Bono to sound like they did in their 20s. It's completely unfair because the voice ages, it changes. I understand if you can't handle it, fine, don't listen. But I think it's more about the emotion that is put into the performance at this point, especially when you get to be the age that these artists are at. So, Jay, thank you for the comment. Really appreciate that one. Next, we have a comment from Man of Oil. And let me read this for you here. He says, I respect your opinion, but this is a bit too cynical for me. Let me pause right there and first of all say, I see what you're saying, because normally cynicism is not a coat that I wear very much on this channel. I'm always trying to maintain a positive attitude. I'll circle back to that in a moment. Let me read the rest here. Here's my take on it. One of the biggest criticisms leveled against Paul in recent years has been his aging voice. I've seen people say that he should quit singing his own songs entirely and start having other people sing them instead, or that he should just write songs for other artists. So when I saw this cover album announced, it felt like meeting in the middle on that. It's a way of bringing McCartney's songwriting to a generation that might have overlooked it in its original form, while still letting McCartney do his own thing. Of course, at the end of the day, there is always going to be that profit motive, But if the cover he already put out is any indication of what's to come regarding creativity and quality, I think the cynicism about that might be misplaced. Now, Man of Oil, this is a great comment, and you've got a great perspective on this, in my opinion. And once again, The aging of McCartney's voice does not bother me. I know it bothers some people. And I don't think he should quit singing his own songs. But I think, once again, for a project like this, where it's going to be remaking his songs, I think it needs to be his older material. I think it needs to be like the reimagining of a classic album. Um, and maybe I'm dead wrong here, but once again, it just struck me as really pompous, which is weird for me because I normally don't like to be cynical about these things. But for some reason, it just hit a raw nerve with me. Honestly, Man of Oil, I hope you're right, and I hope that I am wrong. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a subjective thing as to what we like. And some of the artists, I have to admit, some of the artists covering this stuff interest me. I'm really curious to hear what St. Vincent is going to do. I'm really curious to hear what Beck is going to do. Actually, I think St. Vincent needs to do the opening title track, Long-Tailed Bird. I think she needs to do that one. But, let's see what happens. Thank you for the comment, Man of Well. I do appreciate it. It's a great comment. Next here, we have a comment here. Oh, yeah, this is from Jeffrey Morrissey, and he writes, pompous, calculating, cloying, and cynical. Is that directed at me or at Paul? Drum roll, please. So now we have a comment here from Mike Potter. It could have been the case that Paul wrote these songs with specific artist styles and voices in mind. I think this is a very innovative way of writing music. To the contrary of suggesting it may be a pompous act, I think to write a song for someone else to put their stamp on can be a very selfless act. I think this reimagined work may overtake the original. Time will tell how we all receive the album, but I think it's totally worth adding to the collection right next to the original. Mike, that's a great sentiment. But if that was the case, I would think that Paul McCartney would have told us this, that I'm writing songs for the artist in mind, but first I'm going to do my take on it and let you hear what everybody else does with it. And had he announced it that way, well, that would have been a really fascinating thing. And I think we all would have went, wow, okay, let's see what happens with this. A bold experiment. But it wasn't announced that way. And I think that would have been a better way to market it, even if it wasn't true. That would have been a better way to market the whole thing. And you're right, it is selfless to write it for someone else. But once again, I have no reason to think that that's what he was doing. That was, this is just presuming something that we have no proof that says that's what he was thinking. But I appreciate your take on it. It is a very positive take. By the way, I should mention the previous commenter who mentioned that they like the one track that has been released. I listened to it the other day. I listened to it probably about 3 or 4 times just to kind of get a nice feel for it. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it really added anything that new or unique to it. I still like the original better. Of course, I've lived with the original longer, and that's just the way the human brain works. We tend to like the one that we've lived with longer versus the newer version. So next we have a comment and a response. We have a comment from Eugene Crawford. He writes, doesn't Paul already have all the money in the world? And A.A. Ben Bereren, if I said that right, says, I think he got whatever he has by being inventive and hardworking. Still is at 78, it appears. And, A.A. Ben Bereren, wow, I can't even come up with a better response than yours. I think you responded to that amazingly well. Paul doesn't have all the money in the world, thankfully, but great response. Yeah, and I have to respect that. He has been working hard, since the very beginning, and I do respect that, and we all should. Next, we have 2 comments, one from Mark P. and another response from A.A. Ben Bereren. I'm getting better at saying that. Mark P. writes, I see how it can go both ways. Young people who are fans of the artist covering the songs will possibly get exposed to Paul's music and be curious enough to check out his other albums. Likewise, I may end up liking the artists on here that I would never otherwise have listened to and want to check out their own work. You're absolutely right, Mark P. That could happen. And it does go both ways, which is why I always encourage younger artists to do covers. I've been doing covers all my life. I think that doing covers can teach you a lot about songwriting, and that's a whole other subject I should talk about at some point. So let's look at the response here from A.A. Ben Barron. He writes, wise words. Thanks. Personally, I am quite in doubt if McCartney is able to reach out to a younger audience these days. I don't see my kids giving him much notice. However, I can only give him credit for keeping up, trying, and for never surrendering. I am a bit sorry that quite a few people, some of his older fans as well, seem to be somewhat turned off by his efforts. A. Ben Barron, if you mean me, well, I guess you mean me. But I also agree that he never surrenders. And I think all artists should do that. You should never surrender. I hope I'm not one of those older people that's turned off by his efforts, because I have really liked a lot of his newer stuff. Now, I'll admit, there was a period of time where I kind of stopped listening to him sometime during the late 70s, early 80s. But I start listening to him again during the 2000s, with Memory Almost Full, and then began to, listen to a lot more of his more recent stuff. There are some albums during the 80s and 90s that I really do need to hear, that people have told me about, that I need to hear, that Robert Kinsler has told me that I need to hear. And I do intend to get to them. But I think that he's continued to make really good work. He hasn't gotten on the radio very much, if at all, but I think he's still made really good work. And I think he's made some excellent work within the last 20 years. He's made some really excellent work. Just this one project just really rubbed me the wrong way. And once again, I know that's not normal for me to get so cynical. I really wanted to like this new project when I read about it. I really wanted to say, hey, wow, that's, I thought it was bold from a marketing perspective, but I think it was bold from a creative perspective for some reason. It just struck me as just terribly, 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 terribly calculating. And anyways, though, so let's look at the next comments here. And we've got a comment here from Sean from PVD. Paul is just cashing out. If the music is good, I'm not mad at him for it. I like the Art of McCartney double album, and this is just the same idea. I agree. If the music is good, who cares? The Art of McCartney double album, I kind of agree and disagree with you on that. I didn't, how shall I say this? I didn't hate the Art of McCartney, but I felt it was a wasted opportunity. And the reason being is that with the Art of McCartney, you didn't have a whole bunch of artists doing their own spin on it. That's what they should have done with Art of McCartney. What they're doing with this Three Imagined, they should have done with that. Instead, you had all these well-known artists come into the studio, sing his songs, and the backing band was Paul's touring backing band. So they're going to play these songs just the way that they play them on tour, the way that Paul wrote and recorded them. There's going to be no real unique interpretations here. There isn't a whole lot of room for that when you've got the backing band doing it. And so instead, they're just coming in and they're singing through these songs. And to me, that was a huge wasted opportunity. You should have done what they're doing with Three Imagine, which is have them all come in, or have them all do their own separate interpretation on their own, wherever they go to record it, and then submit that. That's how that should have been done. I saw it as a wasted opportunity. And you may be saying, well, aren't you then saying that, that Three Imagined is what they should be doing then, that it's a good thing? I think that Three Imagined should be people interpreting his classic material or reimagining one of his classic albums. And a couple other people suggested that too. And I think we're going to read some of those comments as well. Anyways, thank you for the comment, Sean from PVD. And so next, let me go to the next one we have here. So now we have a comment from Henry Holstila. Hopefully I've said that right. For me, I don't see a problem with this. As a consumer, the choice is simple. If you don't want to hear the album, don't. You're dead on there. You're spot on. I guess I look at this with a less cynical view. If there ever was an artist deserving of a tribute like this, it's Paul. Often after an artist passes, you hear comments such as, oh, why couldn't they do this when the artist was still alive? Is it a bit pompous? Sure, but Paul deserves it. Yeah, and that goes back to my comment on the Art of McCartney. That's what this should be. A lot of artists, younger artists especially, reinterpreting Paul's classic stuff. You and I are just going to have to agree to disagree on this one here. But I agree with you. The consumer has a choice. Either listen to it or don't. I'm going to listen to it. How could I not? I'm still curious. I do want to know how Beck is going to interpret, or how St. Vincent, and there's a number of other artists there whom I'm very curious about. So yeah, I'm going to listen to it. I just keep feeling like this music, this project solely exists to help sell McCartney 3. You know, I don't know why I have that feeling. I just do. And I really hope I'm wrong, but we'll see what happens. Thank you for your comment. And so now, let's see here. We're getting down to the last ones here. A. Ben Barron. You know, it's funny. I didn't even realize this as I was pulling these comments. I was just reading the content, but I didn't realize that he was here this many times. But A. Ben Barron, always thoughtful. And thanks once again for your thoughts. I have a different take. McCartney made his last album all alone. Now he chose to play around and have some fun with a few handful of mates and talented others to unveil new perspectives on the McCartney 3 material. That part of the project is perfectly all right with me. If the album turns out meaningful is another story. I hope so, but that remains to be told. And that goes for the marketing scheme as well, I guess. Might work, might not. And yeah, I agree. It might work, it might not. I said in my initial video, I thought this was, as marketing, I thought it was amazing. It was bold. It was daring, you know, as marketing. I'm just not sure it's going to be bold as music, but we'll see, you know. And like I said, I said in the original video, this could fall flat on its face, but then so could anything else. Then again, this might surprise us all and be absolutely amazing. And no one would be happier than me to experience that. Anyways, well said. And so let's see here. We got a comment here from Mount Art 2. My feeling is it is what it is. Paul has always been into marketing his own brand, and McCartney 3 just took that marketing to today's next level. Okay, that's well said. He also has a competitiveness that drives him to want to strive to be relevant, recording with Kanye West as an example, referring to Kanye West. Way beyond his pop market relevance days have passed him by. Personally, I was turned off by the whole M3 campaign, but as it turned out, I loved the album. Collectors had a field day, so really in the end, what's the harm? I feel the same way with M3 Reimagined album. It smells of marketing, but in the end, if it's a good album with good covers or remixes, who cares? Yeah, I'll agree with that. If it is good, who cares? And the M3 campaign didn't turn me off at all. I saw it as just a separate thing from the music. And every album deserves a good marketing campaign. Otherwise, you're not going to get it into people's hands. People aren't going to hear it. Well said. And still can't shake how I feel about it, though. Maybe I'm just being stubborn now. But these are all really good arguments. You know, I do appreciate these. And let me look at the last comment here. This is from David Hurett. Fair points you're making here, or at least fair enough. I, for one, am very curious to hear this fine set of songs reimagined by younger acts. What a good idea it is. As you say yourself, it's a brave and bold move that hasn't been done before in that way, continuing the Beatles/McCartney tradition of new ideas. So far, so good in the career of this promising 78-year-old young artist. It's a case of enjoying music or not. Simple as that. Plus, I would like to know what is wrong with a calculated marketing plan. No, there's nothing wrong with that. Isn't that the name of the pop game? From Sir Paul to the Stones, Lady Gaga to Taylor Swift, Springsteen with his reissuing albums with video content, even Neil Young, so-called model of integrity, love him by the way, reissues albums with different content. Roxy Live, I'm Looking at You. In fact, everybody. In other words, coming up like a flower with a CMP, calculated marketing plan, is certainly not a bad thing in my book. In fact, that's the whole point of pop music. There's nothing wrong with a good calculated marketing plan, nothing wrong at all. It's not the point of pop music, though. The point of pop music is to make great music, hopefully. And I guess once again, it just goes back to how I felt that to me, it seemed like the point of making this covers album was not so much to make great music, but was to help make McCartney 3 more famous, to help sell more copies of it. That just rubbed me the wrong way. And once again, I could be totally wrong about this, but these are all great arguments. And I appreciate them because, you know, cynicism is, like I said, it's not something I normally wear. It's not a suit I normally wear, but I felt deeply, it just hit the wrong nerve. The whole idea behind this, it just hit really the wrong nerve with me. Maybe I should have waited a few days before making my video and thought about it. It still bothers me when I think about it, but these comments are making me rethink some of this. And I think that's always useful. Anyways, great comments from everybody. And another thing about disagreeing, I think the main thing is when you disagree, be respectful about it. And I think, you know, I think we need to just learn how to have more civil conversations when we disagree on things, especially with music. Anyways, though, I just wanted to share those particular comments. I really do appreciate everybody who commented on this. I'll look, you know, well, I can't honestly still can't say I'm looking forward to hearing this, but I'm certainly curious. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you like what I'm doing here, be sure to click like, click subscribe, smash that bell notification icon so you can know when I release new videos. I want to thank my patron supporters who are helping me make more videos. I'm working on some Patreon suggested projects right now that I'm really looking forward to sharing. Some of them are a bit intensive, but hopefully have those out soon. And just once again, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. And I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.